Hi, my name is Alice, and I'm flying in from Hunter College in New York City to Dallas, Texas, here at the EarthX conference. I'm here with Anika.
Hi, my name is Anika Deshpande. I'm a high school junior at Palo Alto High School, and I'm the co-founder and co-president of Youth for Climate Restoration.
Yep, we're representing Youth for Climate Restoration. Could you tell us a bit more about that, Anika?
Yeah, so Youth for Climate Restoration is a movement aimed at raising awareness for the climate restoration movement. And our goal is by 2030 to have climate restoration be the main goal of all climate action. That current title is held by Net Zero.
Perfect, yeah. And so, what are you guys currently doing with students?
Right now, we work on increasing education and awareness around climate restoration, kind of like I said. And we do that through two main ways. Is one, obviously, we're a youth program. So we give youth of our age group a platform to make a real difference in the world and be able to include their perspectives and their voice. The second part is we do elementary school level climate workshops where we teach elementary school level students about different kinds of climate restoration, kind of the idea behind climate restoration, and really make sure that that's integrated in climate literacy around the US and around our locations. I think it's really important considering even in the most progressive parts of the US, there isn't any climate restoration specific literacy
Hmm.
when we talk about climate literacy.
Yeah, and speaking of that, have you guys hit any roadblocks given that you're spanning like international audiences?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's so many roadblocks. One is obviously we're a youth program, so just being not taken as seriously when we have some of these crazy ambitions can be a huge roadblock. Another roadblock can be, we are a youth program. People have other commitments and other priorities. And so sometimes juggling that can be really difficult, especially working on teams. But I think ultimately we've reached a really good flow state where we're able to work really well with each other and create this really strong leadership team where we're all equally invested and have an equal say in kind of what we do. And we're all making like an equal change in the climate restoration movement.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you're still a high schooler above all that. Could you tell me more, like, if we take a step back, where this all started?
Yeah, of course. My family's from India and I moved here in 2015. And so yeah, growing up, obviously I was very exposed to different I lived in Bangalore, which is one of the most polluted cities, and so I've been very exposed to the climate crisis from an early age. It was never really like a specific decision I made to become involved. Even then I moved to California where we had the California wildfires in like 2016 and then again 2018 and then just last January with the LA fires. I think I've always been exposed to the idea of like wildfires and extreme weather events and pollution. And so I think I've always wanted to make a difference, wanted to fix that. And yeah, I mean, naturally, I am very interested in science and like being a scientist. And so I think too, through like reading scientific literature and reading new journal articles, I learn a lot about the climate movement and understanding where climate restoration fits into all of it.
Yeah, and speaking about scientific research, what would you say has been like the most shocking takeaway from these articles?
Yeah, I recently worked with Peter Fiekowsky on and off on understanding his approach and like current research. He's ongoing research he's working on. It's not published yet, I don't think. And he's working to see using satellite imagery and data analysis whether ocean iron fertilization, which is a form of carbon removal, and it's a natural form of carbon removal, is as I guess like understanding the mechanics behind it and what parts of the world we see it more pertinent in. And so yeah, I think that to me has been really interesting, especially seeing some of the results, seeing some of the amazing takeaways we're seeing. Like we're seeing a lot of very good success in terms of seeing that, okay, yeah, in downwelling eddies, there's more carbon removal because the marine snow phenomenon is stronger when there's a downwelling current, bringing the phytoplankton or whatever dead debris down. Sorry, that got a little too, I guess, technical. But yeah, I think that's one of the papers that I've been really interested in and really hope to see come out.
Wow, that's so exciting. Yeah, it might have been a little bit scientific. So for our younger audiences, do you mind defining what ocean iron fertilization is in layman's terms?
Yeah, ocean iron fertilization is basically, I mean, we can take apart that phrase,
Hmm.
ocean iron fertilization. It's basically the idea of fertilizing parts of the ocean that are anemic or low iron areas with iron. In so many parts of the world and so many parts of the ocean, in these marine ecosystems, iron is the limiting factor that's preventing phytoplankton from like higher metabolism and higher metabolic rates.
Mm.
And so by bringing in iron into these systems, we're able to see higher rates of phytoplankton, and then subsequently higher rates of photosynthesis and more carbon being removed.
Mhm.
And thus there's this phenomenon called marine snow that when phytoplankton sometimes die and they have already captured and sequestered carbon, they'll float down to the bottom of the ocean. And so that's why we see that more pertinently in downwelling eddies, basically where there's already a downwelling current taking those dead phytoplankton down to the bottom of the ocean.
Wow, thank you so much for that explanation. What other climate solutions are there besides the ocean? Because, most of us don't live that close to the shore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other aspects. I know that there's recent research just around straight up carbon removal, right? Like understanding carbon capture technology. There's also different technology being made for with biomass. Sometimes farmers in parts of the world which aren't coastal, right? There's a lot of agriculture in the US, and farmers ultimately, after they harvest their crops, they have a lot of biomass left of these crops that they won't regenerate. They'll have to plant anew, I guess. And so, in a lot of cases, they'll end up burning that biomass and releasing that carbon right back up into the atmosphere. So, there are companies like Graphite, which is a Bill Gates backed startup, working to take that biomass and kind of bury it underground and make sure that that carbon stays sequestered. Yeah, there's a lot of really other cool things. I know in urban parts of the US, there's research being done on like different kinds of concrete that can naturally sequester carbon and different kinds of, I guess, city planning that can naturally work on sequestering carbon through like road materials, etc.
Wow, that's so exciting. Yeah, and given that you are basically representing the entire youth sector of this climate restoration movement, I know that you're still in high school, but what would you say are the three main occupations that we need more of today?
Yeah, okay, that's a really great question. I think we need more scientists. Climate restoration is one of those unique parts of the climate crisis where we don't have fully the scientific aspect like down. We don't have the innovation and the technology fully down. Right? In a lot of the parts of net zero, we know scientifically how to get to it. Right now, the frontier that we're like actively working on is the political side and even like the economic side. But I think that ultimately with the climate restoration movement, there's not a broad consensus on exactly how we're going to be able to do this. Even if we agree like ocean iron fertilization is the method, we don't really know, we don't yet have the technology completely refined to be able to go out and do it the second we get a like a political shift and political backing. So I think, yeah, we need scientists. I think then subsequently, once we do create these technologies, we do the research and the diligence behind how we're going to get climate restoration, we need to have advocates and we need to have political backing. So yeah, if someone is interested in climate restoration, I urge them to become, a politician or an activist that wants to push for climate restoration legislature and political backing from, I guess, our government. The third thing I would say is maybe targeted towards youth, maybe people who are interested in education and interested in awareness. I think it's really important too as youth that we continue to spread the message of climate restoration and make sure that it's in people's minds because right now I doubt there are that many people that know, even if they know what the climate crisis is and even if they know what net zero is, I doubt there are people that always know what climate restoration is or would be able to pinpoint what are forms of climate restoration.
Yeah, thank you so much. And lastly, I understand that the whole goal of climate restoration is to basically address the legacy carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to pre industrial levels by 2050. Given the rate that we're at with removing legacy carbon, do you think that's feasible and why?
Yeah, so right now the goal is by 2050 to sequester, or I guess be able to have a healthy and restored environment. I think that it's absolutely feasible. I think as long as we are able to keep track of what the goals are and the milestones that we have, right? Like 2030 is coming up, it's in 4 years. We have to make sure that climate restoration is being advocated for, it's being given visibility, and the entire world is hearing the message of climate restoration. We see organizations like the UN, the IPCC,
Mm.
and various climate organizations adopting climate restoration uniquely as opposed to just net zero. We're seeing that kind of shift happen individually in organizations like the CCL or in organizations like um, the Sierra Club, but we're seeing that shift happen too slowly right now, and I think we need to ramp up efforts. I think though once we meet that by 2030, that climate restoration is the goal of all climate action, I think it's absolutely feasible. I think research is moving a lot faster than our political I guess our political will is. And so once we reach that point at 2030, I am certain that we'll have the research, we'll have the technology, we'll have the ability to do climate restoration. And once it becomes like, once it gets put under that spotlight, it's so important that we're able to follow through in those next 20 years of actually pushing legislators and pushing our representatives in our governments to actually follow through and like on the practical level seeing that carbon get removed from the atmosphere and seeing these different various methods and programs being rolled out.
Amazing, incredible. Anika, you are empowering and your words are inspiring. So thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you so much, Alice.
Yeah. All right. That's a wrap.